Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at my newest custom, which is a classic 1990s Jim Lee style Magneto. I had a customer contact me, said he was not impressed with the at the time, upcoming Marvel Legends Magneto, and then when it came around to his turn for doing a commission project, it was after the Magneto figure had come out, so he was even less impressed with that than he was planning on being. So he was still really interested in getting a classic-looking Magneto. And since there are no Marvel Legends bodies that aren't particularly thick or particularly thin, we decided to go with a DC Universe Classics body because it has that very 1990s animated comic book animated series feel to it. So that's what we did. We got, or I got, after talking to the customer, I decided to use the DC Universe Classics Black Suit Superman as a basically generic blank body. So that's what the main body is. And then I replaced the lower arms with the Spectre, because he had these kind of open Magneto type of hands, like for a nice levitation pose. Like if we were gonna just do it like that, make it look like he's just flying around. You know, that's obviously not a great pose, but we wanted those kind of open hands, so I decided to go with the Spectre for that, and it worked out nicely. I just popped off the lower arms, put these lower arms on. I did some tooling to the wrist joint where the gloves were. I took down the gloves and I reworked the joint a little bit, and then I sculpted all of Magneto's bands, or whatever you want to call that. I sculpted one of the bands on the glove itself, so when you rotate the wrist, this band stays with the hand, and then the rest obviously stays with the forearm. So I did that to both arms, and I filled in the peg holes to give it a more seamless look. So that was basically the work for the upper body. I added the belt, of course. My customer said he didn't want to have just a plain solid band for a belt like Magneto had back then. It was just a little too bland. So he said, well, why don't we, or I said, well, we could just split the band into two pieces. That'll give us our waist articulation, and it'll give it a little bit more composition. So he said, yeah, let's just do that. That way it's still basically the same thing as before, but a little more style. So I went with that. And then, of course, I filled in the, you can't see it, but I filled in the peg hole and made a new peg hole on the back of Black Suit Superman for the cape, and the cape is from the new Magneto, but we'll get to that in a second. So the problem with Black Suit Superman, and as I found almost all of the DC Universe Classics figures, they don't actually have trunks sculpted on. And I know the Black Suit Superman's not supposed to, but even the figures that are supposed to, like Batman, most of the time they just have a couple of wrinkles and the trunks are painted on. So I actually had to sculpt the trunks on to his hips, and sculpting the trunks around this T hip joint thing that the DC Universe Classics figures have, that was not fun, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I think it was worth it, and I'm really happy to have been able to add that sculpted detail, because I hate it when things are just painted on rather than being sculpted. So I did that. Oh, and also I want to point out, I literally just finished this figure before I started the video, so if you see some spots that the paint looks like it's a little bit off color-wise, that's because it hasn't fully dried yet. That's also why I'm holding him by the stand, so don't worry, I didn't make it splotchy. And some people are probably wondering if I'm going to turn the neck purple or not. I'm going to ask the customer, because some people prefer the red look and some people prefer the purple look for the neck. And I haven't asked him that yet, so I just wanted to get the video done. So since everything else is done, I figured that's fine, so I'll ask him about that actually when I'm done shooting this. Anyway, back to the thing. So I did basically the same sculpt work I did for the wrists, I did for the boots. I sculpted the boots all the way down, and then I kind of just sculpted it to kind of blend in with the foot area for the bottom part of the boots, and that hid the ankle peg, and then I also covered over the knee pegs just to make them a little bit more seamless. So anyway, for the head, we're using the X-Men Classics Magneto head with the eyes painted white because he wanted that look. There's a cat. Hi, cat. I don't know why she's sniffing it with her eyes closed. It's a little strange. What are you doing? Anyway, get out of here. So the head is X-Men Classics Magneto. The helmet is the new Marvel Legends Magneto. Same with the cape. Although for the cape, I reshaped the insides and I took away some of the cape here to give better range of motion for the shoulders. And then for the helmet, obviously I repainted it. I made the helmet kind of like a satin red, and then the emblem on the front is just ever so slightly metallic. And then the purple part of the helmet is the same metallic purple that I used for the collar, the belt, the gloves, and the boots. And then of course the cape part is the same purple that I used for the trunks. And he is all kind of a satin, well, for the most part the red is satin, and then the purple is just a slightly more matte finish. I like to mix finishes just because it makes them look a little more realistic. And it's all dry brushed and painted appropriately to give it some nice texturing and detail. So there it is, guys. There's my newest custom. Oh, one other thing. I also added a peg hole. Let's see if I can show you. On his back for the Marvel Legends flight stand to actually fit upward into it, so that it gives him a little bit extra height. And that's because my customer said he's going to pose him basically in a hovering pose. So he wanted that. And this way you can angle it a little bit if you need to, but he said basically I just want him to stand a little bit higher and be able to do like a hovering, levitating pose. So I sculpted like a little block that came off of his back and then down, and drilled a hole into it upward so that the peg for the flight stand would fit on there. So that's it. That is my newest custom, which is not technically a Marvel Legends, but really more accurately a DC Universe Classics Magneto, even though it's really for his Marvel Legends collection. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.